we need to do different kinds of shows this fall. We need to think differently about our shows this fall. Jeremy, I think you're right. I think a lot of people are out of work, are really hurting. This is not going to stop tomorrow. So I think even if everything settles down and is hopefully more back to normal by the fall, I still think a lot of people have just gone through something. And to me, this is just my personal opinion, then taking your band out with this ridiculously opulent, expensive looking production, which is what we normally love to do, I don't think it feels appropriate. So to me, this is the year to simplify. Maybe don't use all those props. Maybe use something simpler, use something you already have, do something, or just basic changes. Maybe, like you said, don't spend the most expensive costume ever. I think we have to adjust because we have to think about the perception of what we're doing. So, Drew, I mean, do you want to speak to that? I think we need to really think about it.
I think that everybody is going to have their own budget, and they're going to have their own. And we have bands that have $2,000 for their entire budget for their entire year, and they can get a show with us. Then we have some that have $30,000-$40,000 to spend just on the show. So I think everybody, every band director is going to have their own ideas.
Right, but the trick is now's the time to maybe once you get settled in, sometime over the next few weeks, I think you need to maybe get on a Zoom call with your staff and start having that conversation. How do we need to adjust the show we have planned? Maybe that show gets put off to 2021 and we do something completely different this fall. Listen, I think this is the year for crowd-friendly, feel-good shows. I mean, I'm always a fan of crowd-friendly, feel-good shows, but if you're planning that apocalyptic show and, everybody was going to die at the end, this may not be the year. You know what I mean, Jeremy?
Maybe not. Might not be the smartest one. Might not be the smartest one. Yeah, and I think that you have to have, we could speak about these in terms of timelines, in terms of costumes, and then in terms of show design. But I think, as a general whole, you need to think about, is this going to be, I'm going to see the kids in May? Am I not going to see the kids until June? Am I not going to see the kids until the end of July? You don't know. And so I think you need to have sort of plans accordingly. A May plan. I was talking to Tim Lee. He's a designer of costumes and stuff like that, and he said, he works with a lot of BOA bands and what have you, and he goes, look, he's like, right now everybody that I'm working with has sort of a May plan, a June plan, and a July plan. So, if we're going to see the students in May, this is how we're going to do it. If we're going to see the students in June, this is how we're going to do it. And if we're going to see the students in July, this is how we're going to do it. So I think that's
that's fantastic advice. In fact, that's what I would tell you to do with your staff is have every scenario. How can we do this? What's our plan if we see them each of this time? Maybe even what happens if we don't see them till August? Like, we can make this work. I love that one of the band directors that was giving me input on Facebook, I asked everybody, what do you think about this topic? And somebody said, you know what? We are like the masters of making it work in our activity. You know what? Yeah. Like, we can put on a show with a garbage bag and a trash can and to entertain people. So this may be the year we're going to show everybody how we can adjust and how smart and clever and creative we can be. But Jeremy, the idea of sitting down and saying, let's have a plan for every scenario, that to me, when I'm a planner, I feel calmer if I know, you know what, if we don't even get together till April 1st.
Over the situation, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's so little control over the situation right now. So, take that moment and go, okay, this is May, this is June, and this is July, and this is what it looks like when it, when it's different. Maybe you're doing one less song, or maybe, you're whatever. Like, anything is within the realm of possibility. One of the things that, like, I was talking to Sue with Algie about yesterday in regards to this topic was, maybe you're not getting that shade of eggplant, that exact perfect shade of eggplant on your costume or on your flag. Maybe purple is going to be okay. Maybe just the simplicity of simple colors and simple design, makes it more appealing, in general. But this year, because you don't know and there's so much uncertainty, is the reason to do it. I mean, she was saying to me, she's like, listen, China's pretty much back up and running, and you can get your basic navy, your red, your purple, all that kind of stuff. However, all the super fun fabrics and all the super fun colored fabrics come from Italy. They're nowhere near being up and running right now. So getting all of those materials into the US is going to be difficult. If you think in your mind, I'm going to get this like perfect shade of aubergine in a light twinkle, one group this year might get that, but everybody's not going to get that. So you just need to be smart about the design choices you make going into the uniform design to begin with, and then really have several plans, like we were talking about the May, June, July plan. Maybe your May plan is, I could still get a custom, Sue, I was talking to them that, they and Joe Heininger, I was talking to, they can get patterns out. They can get a sample out. If you want to do a custom design, that is cool. That can happen. Do it now, but realize there could be altercations along the way. Realize they can give you a fair amount of time to get your measurements in from your kids. They might be able to wait until mid-July, to get all that kind of stuff. But get your pattern and all of that started early. But my advice is don't go crazy. They're there, they're ready for you. They'll take the work. All they're doing is sitting around too. They'll take it, but give them the leeway to be a little bit more free. They know the materials a little bit better. They know what they're going to be able to get in. They know what they're going to be able to, make happen for you. So don't expect the world. Just sort of take it back. And then once you get into the June and July, maybe your plan needs to be to go to a 4 to 6 week, ship thing. I mean, a lot of trigger and your timeline for anything always starts when we get the measurements. So once we have the measurements and the sizes for the kids, that's when we can really move forward with getting everything done. But the design needs to be done ahead of time so that we can just boom, fire.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's, you're going back to your the 6 weeks. The one thing that Style Plus has, the configure. So hopefully you can see that the configure system where you're able to go through and you're able to pick your every element of the. And that can be done with the dye sublimation process, the printing process. We actually set up a year ago our own dye sublimation printing shop here in Paducah. So right now on the back end we are ready, and and really with this configure system, it doesn't really matter. You can be simple, but you can also be pretty extravagant, depending on how good your graphic designer is. And how, because Photoshop can do amazing things with imagery, and then you can have things that are when they're printed, they look amazing, and you can even create textures.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And that configure system is brilliant because it does allow you one sleeve, no sleeves, this neckline, that neckline. It gives you like 4 or 5 different scenarios in every single part of your body, so you can easily take something from there, and create something super custom look. You can make, this slice look like leather from the printed. You could do so many things that, like, looking at something, from a simple standpoint, a simple silhouette standpoint, and being able to create within the dye sublimation pattern, all of the interest and intrigue, I think is sort of the way that the industry is going anyway. But this is now almost the way you have to do it for this season. Or, one of the things Sue was saying is, she's like, look, order the fancy uniform, order it. then this might be the year that the moms all sit around and do some of their own rhinestoning. Like don't go so far as to get all of that done by the company, but take it back in house, pull it back in. We as a society used to do that. I remember back in the day rhinestoning a lot of things. So there isn't any reason why, exactly. There isn't any reason why we couldn't go back to that.
Yeah. One of the things that I did with an indoor group this year, because they were tired of waiting, 10 to 14 weeks for their fancy costumes. I said, well, why don't we print a really nice looking unitard line and see if there are things that we can add to the costume to make it. So what we did was it was actually kind of cool. It was a fire. It was like, then on Amazon we found these leather like shoulder pads and like a half skirt, almost Scottish looking.
Back in the day, I wore toe chain. Like, yeah. I was at Home Depot, literally got the bucket of toe chain and threw that on. I mean, that on top of, a fire unitard, that might not be the right imagery for this season, but, but that idea, rope, there's other things that you can go and get to add to something to give you that custom look.
The bottom line of everything, I love that this discussion you guys are having. The bottom line is go ahead and design your show, design your costume, design what you want, work with those great designers you always do, but know this is the year for flexibility. Like you said, you may not get the exact color. It may be that we find out, it's going to be July. So that puts our July plan. Our July plan is it's simplified. They can get it to us faster, and we're going to do some of the work ourselves, which I guarantee the world is ready to rally around and help each other. I think that's one of the positive outcomes of where we are. There's no way that everybody in your band parent program and your students aren't going to say, I will totally have a sequin sewing on party on my house on Saturday because we're so excited to be together, and we'll just we'll do it. Like, this is the year. And you know what? This is the way it ought to be anyway, I think. So why not? Let's take advantage of that and start a new normal of once we get back together doing this. So Jeremy, Andrew, you're both saying this is the plan. Do your design now. Go ahead and contact your designer, make your plan, but know and talk to them about, I'm going to have maybe 3 or 4 versions of this, and then color guard people who are so meticulous about their details, and that's why you're so great, and that's why your shows are so amazing. This is the year to know, you know what, I'm going to have to be super flexible and know that we may have to go with our least favorite version of this outfit for this show, and that's going to be okay.